Podcast time, everybody.
All right, and then rolling into our encore episode, we almost got into this at the very end of the episode, but you know, I started doing these because we just get so much good content, to be honest, where I feel like it can just be its own episode. And man, we didn't there's so many stories. I mean,
there's so many. There's so many.
Here's the weird thing, and I wanted to tell this story because this is one of the very first times that I got to see Kennen Butler in action, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so we've known each other since high school. We went to the same high school, and we had the same or similar groups of friends. So he was working at the time. I don't want to say working, but you know, going and working at a production, Into the Woods, very first time that I was a part of, you know, Black Box Theater, stage crew and that type of thing. But I know, right? It's weird. We're getting old.
Oh, for real.
But
we were babies.
I still am.
Absolutely.
Just a werewolf man, baby.
I'm gonna start calling you Baby Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, there you go. Don't talk too much, man. The claws come out. But anyway. So we were, and I love this story because there are like two or three that I tell, and it's not the one where when Kennen's recording his sessions, they put the mic to the wall. That is iconic, yes, because this guy is loud. I've said it throughout the podcast. It is he's singing in the street 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, New York City, and you're like, I can't with you. Not only that, before all of that was a thing, we were at, and I've told this story, but I not to the audience listening. We were at a mutual friend, and I could say her name because not her full name, but Sarah was her name. And Sarah's Sweet 16. And there was a mixed group of people that are there, friends, and I think some of her family were there and things like that. Now, obviously, the musically inclined, we kind of know what Kennen is capable of, but keep in mind, Kennen to this point, you know, aside from I think maybe church, there wasn't public scenes, and you know, this is
that's
like
not necessarily true because I had always not scenes in this way, but yes. I was on the dance team, and I was in all of the musicals and in every chorus that you could be in because a boy that can sing, come on over here, we need you. Right.
But the magic about this is that the sheer reactions that people had that were like. There was a handful of people that were like, whatever. This was, you didn't go to a dance performance. You didn't go to and have a playbill and go, I'm going to go watch Kennen Into the Woods. You were at a Sweet 16, right? So, you're like, oh, I think I'm going to sing to Sarah. So I don't even remember that part. I just remember.
Because I always get roped into singing.
Yes. And
I always get roped into singing.
And it was like, I'm going to do this. And it was kind of a like, it wasn't even a planned thing. Like, I'm going to do this. And the response of just how the happy birthday rendition, I just remember the crowd of people. Like I'm sitting here going, hey, he's doing it. Oh my God, he's doing it. But the crowd of people that were just like, yeah, Kennen, get him. And then also, wow, you know, and Sarah, I just remember her being, first of all, like, oh my God, what's going on? Oh my God, you're embarrassing me. And then this is so beautiful, crying. And I don't remember too much, but I just remember like, it's just so many overflowing. And I mean, you just hit it. It was so crazy for this to be a thing. And again, if you know Kennen or you know myself, like it's not. It literally anything like this could happen, but you are watching it happen in real time. People are cheering. People are like, "Oh my God!" This was before like really good cell phones, so you had to watch it. There was no Memorex to it. You had to watch it and remember. And it was so moving, that and impactful that the entertainment or the production company, one of the
wait. You always this part though, because right after that, they played Michael Jackson. I want to say it was Beat It.
Okay.
It was either Beat It or Thriller. It was one of the two. And then I was like, I'm gonna go dance. Will you come dance with me? And on that little wooden dance floor that they had.
Yeah, that place was tiny. It was like
so tiny. And again, everybody was like, ah! Now, meanwhile, I'm like, I ain't doing nothing. Y'all calm down. This ain't Michael now. I don't know the choreo, and Michael is legendary.
Right.
We're in Newburgh.
You're lucky that people showed up. Lucky the lights are on.
Oh my gosh. And then that's when the company was like, eyebrows.
Right. Well, the thing is that when I remember this moment, it was so when you, like, even with Michael Jackson or something like that, when you hear the start in a live concert and people go nuts.
Yes.
That is like, when we're talking about like audio, that is peaking. You're all straight red. And just everybody's overload reaction, just what is going on? Oh my God, what is Kennen doing? Oh my God, he's singing. Oh my God, Sarah's crying. Everybody, like, that was literally, I cannot forget that. The dancing aspect, people were still kind of like trying to process what happened. I remember you came over and were like all giddy about it. But then literally right after that, the entertainment company that was there, the guy literally like, hey, yeah, can we talk to you real quick? And they pull this dude aside and offer him a gig to work with them on the spot. That was his very first official job, and he came over and was
that was my first official like performance job ever. It was the first time that I'd ever been paid, because I had been working at McDonald's. I've been working at McDonald's since I was for 2 years at that point. In my life.
But look, I've never identified you as a hamburger flipper. You are what you're called, and you are what you identify with in the creative space like that.
Absolutely.
You are a performer. You're a singer. And in that moment, that was your first job towards your just what you do, man. And it was so like, literally I could still, this was 16 years ago, 15 years. I can remember like it was yesterday. I know. Gundam's old. But it was, that to me was it was just so, it was like magical. It's weird because it's like knowing like Blake Shelton or Bradley Cooper or something like that. And they're like
confused for them all the time.
Especially their whiteness, right? Your goatee, bro. I don't know.
I know, bro.
But
it's the locks.
It does it every time. It's just weird to know somebody who is that talented and then kind of just watch them in their normal state, and then when they're done, like, we're gonna go have a hamburger, like, you forget that they're just a real person. They're just not, and I'm not saying starstruck, but it's just, I love those moments. I love that response from everybody there, the overloaded emotion with Sarah, and just like you being able to be seen for what it is that your talent is. I mean, you have a smaller audience, like with the dance groups, and slightly larger with the school, performances. But it's such a siloed audience that is coming to see that and respect that. To be out in the wilderness, so to speak, like just in a this would be like the equivalent of being in a grocery store and having somebody ridiculous there, and you just happen to be dancing and they see you, and it would those paths would never cross unless you were there, and truly magical. And it was just, I just remember your energy about it. You came over and you were just like, it was like being on Oprah, it was like, you get a job, you get a job, you get a job, everybody's getting a job. It was so weird that just happened like that, but also magical. It was like, is this real?
I loved that. I was so excited to do that job. I stayed with them. I think I was with them at least until I was 21 or 22.
Wow.
I think I had to leave, and I like officially left because I would come back and do gigs when I wasn't on tour.
Right.
And then when I took my first ship, Disney is when I stopped working for them because I was like, I'm finna be gone for like a year.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
But it's weird. And then the second Kennen story that I have to tell is it's still good. No uh-ohs. As we know, Kennen is loud. If you haven't noticed, I'm going to notice in editing when I have to do this.
Yeah.
But he's
and I want you can't see, but but I've got like the gain set super low, and I'm like hella far away from the mic.
Right, and you're telling me like, oh, I'm too quiet. I'm like, bro, this is my normal recording booth that I do like voice acting into. Like, all right,
right.
But so,
and that's why I had to soundproof my room.
Yes, because reverberations are a beautiful thing.
They really are.
So when you have somebody who carries that well, things can be a little bit difficult in performances though. So there have been numerous times that I've heard this. But this is probably, I think I want to say the first time that I've actually seen this. Yeah. So after I graduated, because I believe we're like a year or a couple months off.
We're a year apart because yes.
Kennen had I wanted to see him they were doing Into the Woods again. I'm like, dude, save me a ticket, give me a playbill, whatever it is. I want to come rep you. I want to come see and come in. And it was difficult because it was very limited. I think you had a lot of family and stuff coming, and they have like a limited amount of like, I don't want to say save seats, but tickets or something like that for folks. And I got one, and I know it's somewhere, like it's literally in a box with the playbill in a bag somewhere. But I sat down, I watched this guy on stage, and he had no microphone because Kennen is way too loud and will be picked up on somebody else's microphone. So Darnell, and I remember this because you couldn't hear him as well, and he was mic'd. I don't even remember who he was character-wise, but I physically remember Kennen singing and dancing in the back of the stage, and you could hear him crystal clear through Darnell's mic. And I'm going, how is this possible? How? There are, I don't remember if anybody else was not mic'd, but this dude is singing and dancing in the back of the stage. I'm not in the front. I'm near the back of the auditorium. Okay. I don't know to the left or to the right. I know it wasn't in the middle. And I heard this guy clear as day through Darnell's mic. Darnell, I couldn't hear as well through Darnell's mic, but I heard Kennen through Darnell's mic. And I was just like, wow. So if he can't get a job singing, maybe he can get a job like breaking glasses, and because this is insane. The amount of just raw acoustic horsepower that this gentleman has in his lungs. And it was just,
I have blown sound system.
Dude,
and I had to warn people I'm loud. So when I belt, make sure that you set the gain appropriately, because if you don't, it's gonna be. And I'm a very dynamic singer now as well, and so I will go from extremely quiet to hella loud in like 7.5 seconds. And so if the sound tech isn't good, they're always unable to handle. I think it's hilarious. Oh, it makes me giggle.
But I mean, growing up though, and I've learned most of this from your website of all things, dude, because I didn't know a lot of this going on. You moved around a lot. I know we're talking about it a little bit in the podcast, but I mean, I've known you. You're in Japan. You're in New York, Florida.
I've been to 8 different schools before the 7th grade, dude. Like, I moved around so much as a kid. I went to one school in Michigan. Then there was 1 or 2 schools in Germany. Then we lived on the Stewart Air Force Base before it became a civilian airport.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Then I lived on West Point. Then I went to Vales Gate. Then we moved to Plattekill. So I went to Plattekill Elementary and Wallkill Junior High. And then I came back to Newburgh. And that was when I was in Newburgh the second time. And so then we stayed throughout high school. Then I went to Buffalo for college, and I was only there for 3 semesters. Then I moved to New York, and I was on tour, but in and out of New York until 2008. And then I went to Philly for 5 months to do a show. Then stayed in New York for a bit. Then did Disney, and that was a year. Did 2 contracts with them. Then I did a contract on Holland America, which was 11 months. And then right after that, I booked Universal Studios in Japan. Yeah, in Japan. But I also booked a Holland America ship. And at the same time, I was doing that one-man show in New York. And so I did a 6-week replacement contract. It was like a 2-week cruise and a 4-week cruise. It was so great. Came back, did that one-man show at in New York that you came to see.
Right.
And then a couple days after that, flew to Japan. And I basically was in Japan for 4 years. Then still lived in the city, did a couple ships, did some stuff in LA. And just this March, I moved down to Florida.
And you know, if anything I could say about this year, I have to be somewhat a little bit thankful, like even if it is kind of for selfish reasons, because this podcast opportunity would probably not exist. Yeah. It has been so difficult to get a hold of this man for years. Like we literally catch up in like microbursts, and we only have gotten the opportunity to do this recently because things have been crazy. So
things have been crazy, but because things are crazy, I'm actually like slow on the ship. It's not really possible to like shoot a podcast. We'd have to like time it during my port days, which I don't have a ton of time. I probably have a maximum of like 3 hours on a port day, depending on what the port day is and what I have to do that day, and if I can
But if
I'm off that day, if I've gotten off in the morning, and then if I get off in the early morning, what's open?
And it burns you out energy wise. I mean, you don't even know if you're going to be up for doing another performance after a performance after, whatever.
Well, I kind of feel like I would be, because, for example, on the ship, you end up doing, they're not as long, but you do multiple of these like Q&A talk back type situations, where the thing that I always tell people about working on a cruise ship, and Disney Cruise Line beat it into me, is when you are in guest areas.
Metaphorically, just so you know, he was not hurt during the recording of this cruise or this podcast. So Disney, we appreciate you. And okay,
but Disney Cruise Line was some of the best customer service training that I have ever gotten in my life. Really? They were so strict, yes, but that's why their product is virtually flawless.
Right.
It is so wonderful. But when you're in guest areas, especially in entertainment, you're working. It doesn't matter if you're not working. You are, if you are working, you are at the disposal of the guests. You are there to socialize with guests if they have questions, from what do you like, picking my brain Q&A wise to how do I find the nearest bathroom. You are working. And so I always, especially on days where I knew I was like emotionally exhausted, I'm not going upstairs. I don't feel like putting on a button-up shirt. I don't want to I'm gonna stay right on downstairs, wear my shorts or pants. But I have to wear pants to leave my cabin. But because I knew that I was gonna have to work, and so I feel like that gives you a lot of stamina. So if I had time, I would have been able to film it. If I had time and decent Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is scarce. In the Caribbean, it's a lot.
On a boat, it's and it can be spotty depending on where you're cabin. But it's better. I would never Zoom over the Wi-Fi on board. Never, bro. No, it is not good, but it's good enough to check your Facebook, and I can Facebook call people. But to do something like this, it's not a thing. But like I said, I'm glad in that sense, if I could be selfish for like 2 seconds, well, technically in this 25 minutes, but but that is something that I am extraordinarily thankful for, because it is I mean, we've talked back and forth about trying to do stuff for years, and even just the beginning of this year, we were talking about trying to do this in February, and it just didn't happen, and that's what happens. We're at the bottom of 2020 now. Thank you very much. Not close enough, but closer than February was, and it's just. That is the life of a creative, man. It's just something always happening, always going on, and. Yeah. But it's just it's cool. It's weird to think though, just how that show you were talking about. I remember doing. I mean, we've done. You had your EP, your Secret, that I did the artwork, the cover for. That's on iTunes. I did the marketing for your one-man show, and I have the video for it somewhere. I got to re-edit that so we can have that up online because that was. It's weird to see something that went from paper to an actual product. And for me, it is magical, to say I have this idea. And I think that's how it is with a lot of things in life. You get into a car, somebody designed, not one person, but a group of people designed that vehicle. And that wasn't the end product that they had in mind, but that's how it ended up, and that is what you now use. And to see that process once it's done, I think is very insightful.
That show taught me that I am indeed a crazy person, but that those crazy ideas that I have in my head I can build them into something. Right. And that was the first time that I went, oh, I mean, if I hadn't done that show, I don't think that I would have even thought about building shows in Japan.
Right.
I don't think I would never have ended up touring and all of the things that I did out there. You know what I mean?
True.
Now, and it wasn't like, I wish I could be like, I was touring, I went from Osaka to Tokyo. That's not, I definitely ran around and played local venues but it was great. And I loved being booked, but I would not have been able to, like, that planted the seed of trust in my crazy.
Right.
And trust in my lens. You know what I mean?
Well, and you've been trying to get over to Japan for, years to just... any reason you could be there, and that's, you found it, you got it, you can now go back. You've sort of set up camp there, I can guess you can say, as far as knowing folks and connections, and it's an opportunity.
It's always nice to have a place to stay. That was what's been really cool about traveling as a performer, is building relationships with people. And I had friends that were like, hey, so are you still in New York? I need a place to stay. Yeah, baby, come stay on my couch. It's all good. And vice versa. That has been a very wonderful experience.
Right.
I was supposed to go to Barcelona this year.
Nope.
That's not happening.
Nope. Well,
but you know what though? Real talk. I'm really glad, A, that I can do this, but B, I didn't realize that over the past 14, 15 years that I'd never stopped.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning of, it was really nice for me, and I had just come off of the ship because I got stuck, and I was in the end of a contract actually, but it was really nice to not have anything to do and not have anything pressing to do. Burnout is real. It is so real, and it creeps up on you. And I didn't know how burnt I was until I was scorched. And so now, looking at 7 months later, I feel very much ready to work again, which is why I've started creating so much now, because I'm like, okay, cool, it's time. I've rested enough.
Well, speaking of creating, when's the next collab we're doing, man? What's going on, man?
What are we doing? What do you want to do?
I don't know. You got some music videos coming up. They're a little bit midnight-less,
they are a little bit midnight. I have an idea. I have to see if it'll work though. A lot of the stuff that I want to do is really hard to do when you have to limit the amount of people that are involved. True. Because social distancing and all of that jazz. Because there's like three 3 different tunes that could use a little bit of midnight.
There
That's
you
all
go.
I'm saying.
Or even just visually, man. I could send something remote, and guess some sort of spot or whatever. Hey, I'm just saying. I see a lot of things coming up.
Don't do this to me. You got a brain turn, and I already have a full plate. Why are you doing this?
I'm just saying, I mean, just saying. No, I'm sure we can figure out something, man. But I appreciate you.
I'm trying to get you on my happy hour karaoke thing on my Instagram. That's really what I want you to do. You're gonna be so mad. You want to see me
drunk? That's what you're trying to do.
I want to hear you sing.
No, I saw that thing with that was one. It sounds sad. That is one of my favorite songs from the Goofy movie. Stand Out.
Oh yeah.
I literally played that in the car, and it was just because it is performed well enough where you go, "Is this a real pop song?" Because it's performed and
because also the person that is singing that, his name is Tevin Campbell. He is R&B, like 90s R&B royalty. Like that voice, that man, excuse me, that man's voice is insane.
I thought I thought back in the day, I thought it was like the equivalent of Michael Jackson because it has the same,
and he sounds
in the movie,
pretty much the same now.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I heard you doing it. I'm like, dude, that's my song.
It's my song.
But we gotta do something, man. But I appreciate you doing this encore episode with me, though. I'm sure the listeners
anything for you, man. I just appreciate you. I love what it is that you do. I think what you are doing is so important on so many different levels. And so I'm happy to be here, man.
Right. It's just so many times to be able to have stories like this told, and we didn't have it. Like I said, back in the day, now we are the story. How weird is that?
Right.
How weird we've gone from we're looking for the story that we are the stories now. That
are the stories.
That is,
and not only that, I think it's really cool that we know where we were back in the Disney, and now we are in a place where when we have a story to tell, we have the tools to tell it.
There's value. Right.
There's so much value. But I hope that people see that. And if they don't take, for me personally, if they don't take anything else, take away from you don't have to wait for someone to see you.
Right.
You don't ever have to wait for somebody to see you. If you see yourself, you can go out and do it. Make a space, create a space for yourself. And that's exactly what it is. Especially, bro, you have flourished and it is so cool to see.
It's a weird feeling.
And, bro, no, that's not weird that you're feeling. It's called age. But
that's my back giving out.
Help! But I've fallen and I can't get up. It is inspiring. You've always inspired me to be like, okay, well, I have to find a way to do it. I can't just sit and be content to wait. That is a system that benefits some people, but not everybody. And so if no one wants to tag me in, then I'm going to play my own game.
That's why I wanted to be a game designer. I didn't like the fact of how the rules are being played. And I went, well, you know what? It'd be nice to be able to create something where either your character wins or there's an ecosystem that you can just enjoy. There's so many things that you can't, but either way, man, dude, I really appreciate you doing this and taking the time.
I got you,
really
brother.
do.
It was great. I had a good time today. It was a blast.